Welcome back to Rhythm Guitar Book 3. This book takes a deep dive into all sorts of movable chord shapes. We're on pages 8 through 10, and we're going to look at movable power chords. To use these chords, you need to know the names of the notes on strings 5 and 6. If you need some help with that, check out Lesson 1. You can watch all these videos for free, but it's going to be a lot easier to learn if you have your own copy of Rhythm Guitar 3 that you can read from and write in. Plus, you can help support a music teacher, so I'll leave a link in the description. Toward the end of Rhythm Guitar Book 2, you learn this E5, A5, and D5, or E power chord, A power chord, and D power chord. Because these chords all have open strings, you can only play them in one place on the fretboard. But if you play that fretted note with your third finger, your first finger is now free to act as a moving capo. Let's check out how that affects the E5 and the A5, or the E power chord and the A power chord. Here's our open E power chord, played with the first finger. Switch to the third finger. First finger is now free. Move that fretted note up one fret. Put your first finger down on the first fret of the 6th string. We have a movable power chord. So our root, the note the chord is built on, is on the 6th string. That other note is one string down, 2 frets over. And we can move it around. Same with the A power chord. Here's the original A power chord, first finger, playing that fretted note. Switch to third finger. First finger is now free. Move up one fret. First finger goes on the first fret of the 5th string. And we also have a movable power chord on the 5th string. Power chords, as you can probably guess by now, are labeled with a 5, E5, A5, and sometimes in your music it'll just say power chords. The most important about these movable shapes is that you need to know how to find your root notes. The root is the note the chord is built on, and in these power chords, the root is the lowest sounding note. So from the power chord that you get from the E5, the root is on the 6th string, and from the A5, the root is on the 5th string. Now, if you move the E5 to the first fret, or first position, and play that movable shape, it becomes an F5 because of the root is on the first fret, 6th string, which is an F. Take that same shape, move it up to, say, 7th position on the 7th fret. That's a B as your root. Now we're looking at a B power chord, or a B5. Similarly, if you move that A5 chord to the first fret, it becomes a B flat power chord, because my first finger is on the B flat on the 5th string. And if you move that root note up to the 6th position, you'll be playing an E flat power chord, because now the root note is on the E flat string 5 fret 6. On top of page 9, we talk about position markings in this book. Throughout much of this book, you're going to see Roman numerals which refer to your position. Position in guitar just means wherever your first finger happens to be. If your first finger is at the 1st fret, you are in first position. Now, if you see, say, a Roman numeral 7 above the staff, your first finger would move to the 7th fret, or 7th position. At the bottom of page 9, we have number R12. This is a movable power chord etude using only power chords based on the 6th string, or that E5 that you learned about on the previous page. The first thing we want to do is find our root note for each chord on the 6th string, and then we're going to go back and play the exercise. At the beginning, we have an A5. Notice that Roman numeral 5. That means we're in 5th position. That's where your A is on the 6th string. And then you would play your A power chord from there. Next we have a C5. Notice the Roman numeral 8. So that'll be in 8th position, C5. Back to an A5. Then we have a G5. Notice that is marked in 3rd position. So you move your finger to the 3rd fret on the 6th string, because we're using this particular chord shape. There's our G5, or G power chord. Then back to that same A5 in the 2nd line. Back to that same G5. Then we have an F5, notice the Roman numeral 1, that's going to be in first position, back to the G5, to the A5. When you're playing chords that only involve 2 strings, it's very easy to accidentally strum an unwanted string. To avoid that, you can mute some strings. So let's take that A5 at the beginning of number R12. If you are playing on your fingertips, it's very easy to get that 4th string to ring. What you want to do is mute the 4th string with your 3rd finger. So I'm slightly flattening this finger so it touches the 4th string and mutes it. And for a little extra insurance, my 1st finger is touching that string as well. So that way I don't have to be too careful with my strumming. I can strum fairly aggressively and not worry about getting a note out of that string. Before you play the exercise, I do recommend just cycling through those chords. Don't worry about strumming or anything like that. Find those chords first. A5, C5, A5, G5. Second line, A5, G5, F, G, ending on an A5 or A power chord. Once you're comfortable finding those chords, go ahead and play through the exercise. Play at a nice, comfortable tempo. We have marked quarter equals 70 to 100, so we've got a range to work with there. We're going to do this at a fairly moderate quarter equals 80, and we're not going to go for any fancy strumming pattern. And in fact, I'm just going to play quarter notes. You can use whatever strumming pattern you like in these books. It's not really about the strumming patterns, it's about finding the chords. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, A5, C, A5, G, back to A, G5, F, G, and A. Top of page 10, we have number R13. Similar exercise, but now we're going to play all 5th string roots, or use that A5 type shape that we looked at. Again, we want to find our root notes first and then figure out our chords from there before we play the whole exercise. It starts off with an E5 or E power chord marked in 7th position. So there's our E, and we play that power chord. And again, you can mute the string below your 3rd finger so you can play a nice clean power chord. Next we have an F sharp 5 or F sharp power chord marked in 9th position. So you just move it up on the 5th string to that F sharp at the 9th fret, and then a G power chord or G5 at the 10th fret. So just 1 fret higher, and then back to that E5. Line 2, we go back to the G5 we played earlier, back to the E5. Next we need to find a C at the 3rd fret on the 5th string, and then D5 marked in 5th position, ending with the E5 that we began with. Now cycle through your chords before you play the exercise, just 1 strum at a time. E5, F sharp 5 or F sharp power chord, G5, E, back to G, back to E, C, D5, and E5 or E power chord. Once you're comfortable finding and playing those chords, go ahead and play through the exercise. Nice moderate pace. Again, I'm going to do this at quarter equals 80. Don't worry about any particular strumming pattern. I'm just going to play quarter notes. You can play any pattern you like in this book, but it's best to keep it simple at first. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. E, F sharp 5, G power chord, E, back to G, E, C, D, and E. In the middle of page 10, we have number R14. This is another power chord etude with the root on the 6th string. This time we do not have the Roman numerals marked. It's up to you to find your root note. So let's find our root notes first and then apply the chords. It begins with an F5, so we need to find an F on the 6th string. That's going to be at the 1st fret, and then you would play your F power chord from there. Next we need to find a B flat on the 6th string. That's going to be at the 6th fret, and play your power chord. Then we have that same F. Now we have an A flat 5 or A flat power chord. Find your A flat root note on the 6th string. That'll be at the 4th fret. Play your power chord. C5. C is going to be at the 8th fret. Play your power chord. Then we have a B flat again, same B flat at the 6th fret. And then more repeat chords here. We have an F at the 1st fret, A flat at the 4th fret, and back to F5 or F power chord. Before you play the entire exercise, go ahead and cycle through those chords. F power chord, B flat, back to F, A flat 5, C, B flat, F, A flat, and F. And then play through the exercise, again at a nice moderate pace, simple strumming. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. F, B flat, F, A flat, C, B flat, F, A flat, and F. At the bottom of page 10, we have number R15. This time we have a movable power chord exercise again on the 5th string, and just like the previous exercise, there are no Roman numerals, so you need to find your root notes by yourself. It begins with a D5, and these are all on the 5th string, so find your D on the 5th string. That'll be at the 5th fret, and apply your power chord. F sharp on the 5th string is going to be at the 9th fret, and then play your power chord. C5, or excuse me, C sharp 5. C sharp is going to be at the 4th fret. Play your power chord. B is going to be at the 2nd fret. Play your power chord. Find your E on the 5th string. That will be at the 7th fret. And then add your power chord. There's that same D5 or D power chord again. Next we need to find a G on the 5th string. That's going to be way up at the 10th fret for our power chord up there. Back to the same E as before, and back to the D. Next, cycle through those chords, just one strum at a time. Practice finding those chords. D5, F sharp, C sharp, B, E5, D power chord, G, E, and D. And then play through the exercise, nice moderate speed, easy pattern. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. D5, F sharp power chord, C sharp, B, E, D5, G, E, and D. Your assignment is to practice the exercises on page 9 through 10 and continue memorizing the notes on strings 5 and 6 if you need to. Don't forget to order your own copy of Melody Guitar 3. The link is in the description. Take your time with this, and then when you're ready, I'll see you on page 11. We have some more power chord exercises.